And with that, the 2023 North America East individual competition for our final heat is underway. Kicking things off with a 3,000-meter echo bike into 3 sled pulls.
Of a total of 84 feet.
Total of 84 feet, 2,000-meter on the Assault Air Runner. 3 more hand-over-hand pulls at 84 feet, 1,000-meter ski erg, and then finishing with that 92-foot sled pull, 180 pounds on the sled itself. Welcome, everybody, to the Behind the Scenes podcast of individual event number 1. Chase Ingram and Adrian Conway bringing you guys the first action of the season here for the North American Semifinals. We have 2 this year. We had 4 last year. Starting on the 3,000-meter bike, let's go through this heat sheet. Mr. Conway, in lane number 1, Samantha Pugh. Lane number 2, Nicole Gibson Burke out of CrossFit East Nashville. Lane 3, Tori Dyson, CrossFit New England. Lane 4, Paige Semenza out of CrossFit Vertex. Lane number 5, Paige Powers, CrossFit Mayhem. Lane number 6, Sydney Wells out of CrossFit East Nashville. Lane 7, Amanda Barnhart, CrossFit High Gear. Lane 8, Alexis Raptis, Training Think Tank. Lane 9, Annika Greer, Peak 360 CrossFit. And lane number 10, Brooke Wells, CrossFit East Nashville. Lane 11, Emma Carey, CrossFit Naples. Lane 12, Emma Lawson, CrossFit PSC. Lane 13, Danielle Brandon, CrossFit Naples. Lane 14, Fisa Gaffi, CrossFit Naples. And lane 15, Caroline Stanley out of College Hill CrossFit. Lane 16, Jordan Sweck out of CrossFit Tuabor. Lane 17, McKenna Enslin, CrossFit Vertex. Lane 18, Shelby Neal, 12 State CrossFit. Lane 19, Lexi Neely, BD CrossFit. And lane 20, Ashley Giroux out of CrossFit Cornerstone. And Adrian, we've seen a lot of steady paces on the bike.
Yep.
Looking at this after 2 heats, this event has drastically changed from what we saw on paper that what happens on the competition floor. So when looking at this first bike, knowing we have a run, we've got a ski, but 3 of those sled pull lengths in the mix, how are you approaching this final, or this first 3,000-meter echo bike?
Yeah, I'm gonna approach it a lot like what we're seeing from these women right now. We've got cool, composed looks. People are trying to keep their heart rate down as best as they can so that to give themselves an opportunity to build into this test. One of the biggest mistakes that you can make is spiking your heart rate early and fighting to recover amidst the chaos out there. With all the work that is laid out in front of them, it's important for them to understand the most anaerobic, which means the physically taxing part that's going to spike their heart rate, is actually the sled itself. So while, we sat down in these chairs earlier, we were like, wow, what an aerobic test this is.
Right, yeah.
And in fact, it is overall. But the sneaky part is that a lot of the response that's being elicited on the aerobic system's taking place with that darn sled because it blows up their musculature so much.
Now, when you talk about aerobic specifically, explain that for people when we talk about two different types of just energy expenditures when it comes to aerobic or anaerobic. So when we're thinking aerobic, what is that really pertaining to?
Yeah, when we think about aerobic, we think about time domains that outlast 3 minutes and 30 seconds, right? When you think of the term anaerobic, without oxygen, you think about almost being able to hold your breath. Now, an anaerobic type of test doesn't demand that athletes actually do hold their breath. But when we think about the body from a physiological response, once we get outside of 330, man, everything out there is aerobic.
Hands in the air for a lot of our top athletes, and it looks like Emma Carey is the first off the bike in her first live competition since 2021. Obviously, last year during the quarterfinals, she withdrew from competition due to a back injury. Been training in Naples, Florida with 3 other athletes in this heat, or 2 other, including her. That would be 3. And the question is has she not only shored up that?
Emma's got a unique strategy here. She's literally using every inch of the floor she is allowed to before stepping onto the red tape line for the final round to keep the slack out of the rope.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of a vet savvy move, right? She's got to worry about where the rope is less, and she's going to cross the line and then be able to turn and go.
Amanda Barnhart just made that sled look like it was empty.
Sydney Wells right behind her.
Amanda Barnhart, right side of your screen, already on her second length of the pole, followed by Emma Carey, Emma Lawson, Danielle Brandon. Brooke Wells is done. Annika Greer is done. Paige Powers. Paige Semenza. Amanda Barnhart.
Now watch her closely here, Chase. Watch Amanda. She came out hot. She's moving really fast. She's breaking already to get the chalk. And I'm going to tell you now, her pulls and the frequency of power that we saw early is not quite the same.
Yeah, Amanda Barnhart doing that kind of a switch stance, as we talked about earlier, that little of a split stance, almost pulling sideways.
And she's still making short work of this.
And Danielle Brandon actually looks like she may have caught up in that second length. Barnhart still leading.
Samantha Pugh right with her, neck and neck out there in lane 1.
Samantha Pugh over in lane number 1 on her heel. So Amanda Barnhart's lead closing after that first pull length, followed by Barnhart, Carey, Lawson. Sydney Wells also on her second pull. Brooke Wells just getting done. Alexis Raptis. Annika Greer struggling a bit over in lane number 9 with this second pull.
Now listen, Chase, I don't use expletives very often. But when you're out on the competition floor and you reach this point in the test and you're like, oh, this sled is really heavy, you're like, oh, F. You need to look up, find your coach, take a deep breath and be like, okay, hey, I got this. Because there's a point of struggle that you reach really early, and it seems very obvious here, even on the body language, a lot of these competitors, that this sled is heavier than they may have anticipated.
NOBULL CrossFit Semifinal.
Amanda Barnhart, Danielle Brandon,
Emma Carey.
So right side of your screen in the orange top, that's Danielle Brandon. Emma Carey, she's in the middle part, just to the right in that multicolored top. Brooke Wells in the green to her left. Those two athletes are in the middle. So we got this nice empty space. Right side is lanes 11 through 20. Left side is lanes 1 through 10. We've got Emma Carey to the right. To the right of her, you have Emma Lawson, Danielle Brandon on the right side of your screen. If we go right to left in the middle, Brooke Wells sitting in the front part of your screen. Annika Greer behind her in the green shorts is still on her third sled pull. Alexis Raptis to her left and Amanda Barnhart. Right now, Amanda Barnhart is currently in the lead. She was to the runner first. But then when we look at running, right now we've gotten through the sled part. We've got off the bike. The bike was a pace to get to the sled. The sled, big part of this test. This run is the biggest time the athletes will spend on one singular movement in the overall test, which means if you have good running, this is your opportunity to either, what would say, race it out, but don't hurt yourself as far as pacing.
Yeah, get the work done, but be efficient. You know, again, a strong runner doesn't have to pull away here necessarily, but a strong runner on a good pace can conserve the total amount of energy needed on the back half of this test to get that ski pull done efficiently. You struggle with running and you're just suffering through this thing, boy, it makes the back half of this test very hard.
We've only had 4 athletes complete this test in the last 2 heats. This is the third and final heat. Your top women coming out of quarterfinals. As we're kicking off individual test number 1 for the North America East Semifinal. Most of the times are right around, I mean, it's close, like 28 to 29 minute mark is what some of our best times have been. The time cap is 30 minutes.
So how many are going to finish in this heat, man? How many we got? What you thinking?
I'd say half. I'd say 10.
Yeah, I think that's a solid guess. I mean, the way they've been moving the sleds, I think, is a good hint that, man, minimally, hopefully we got about 6 or 7 athletes that are going to at least come across the finish line here.
on the clock, 20 minutes to
If you
go.
look at your screen from left to right, you've got Amanda Barnhart. To the right of her in the maroon shorts, gray top is Alexis Raptis. Annika Greer, green shorts, black top. Brooke Wells just to her right in lane number 10 in the all green. Skip over to lane 11 to her right. You have Emma Carey, again, back in live competition. Great open, great quarterfinals. And honestly, a great athlete top to bottom. What she did in her first real individual competition outside of the team division. In online competition, her performance at the games, I think she was maybe 16, 17 years old in 2021. Obviously took off 2022 with a back injury last year. But then just to her right, in the long blue pants is Emma Lawson,
Right.
who had one of the best rookie debuts and teen rookie debuts in the modern era.
Listen, man, she was
Getting sixth place.
rocking that jersey for a minute.
Yeah, exactly. Rocking the leader jersey as a 16-year-old at the CrossFit Games. Danielle Brandon to the right in the yellow top, black pants. These are really your main leaders. Samantha Pugh is in the mix. She's off screen.
Now, the interesting thing is we got Nicole Gibson-Burke and Tori Dyson still on their sled pulls. We talked earlier about mass moving mass, and that being an advantage for the bigger athletes. Neither of these athletes are the biggest in the field, and you wonder, does that put them at a bit of a disadvantage when it comes to moving that weight across this floor? As we see Nicole Gibson-Burke in the maroon bottoms finally making her way back for her final pull within this first series.
We're looking for a hand in the air. And athletes are on a 200-meter assault run.
Body language here on the run tells a lot of a story, right? When we look at the athlete's posture, the way they're striking the platform of that runner, are they reaching and getting bigger strides, taking smaller, more conservative steps? What's their cycle rate look like?
Do not count her out. She was in the mix. Same goes for lane number 1, Samantha.
Emma Carey right now looks to be running it at a clip that is slightly faster than a few of the other competitors. Now, it's hard to say because, of course, I'm sitting here on the other side of a platform and watching just the way their legs move. But from a stride perspective, and the way her foot is striking that runner, almost a bit more midfoot towards the back half of her shoe, it can allow her to pull the mat underneath her more.
Listening to the floor announcers, it looks like most of our top athletes are past the halfway mark. Brooke Wells just passed the 1,000-meter mark about 15 or 20 seconds ago. If you guys look at your screen, from left to right, you've got Emma Carey, Emma Lawson, and Danielle Brandon. And with the withdrawal of Mal O'Brien for the East, pretty much anyone in this middle 10 lanes, I think, has an opportunity to win this competition.
It's close. I'd say there's probably about 5 that could win it. But I can tell you right now that every single female on the field right now, all 20 of these women, or 19, all 20 of these women are definitely feeling like their opportunity to go to Madison is that much more closer with an absence of an athlete with such great capacity as Mal O'Brien.
2,000 meters on the air runner. We slowly approaching about 500 meters left to go. We've already started with a 3,000 meter echo bike, an 84-foot sled pull. Now, if you're just joining us, the sled pull is done in 3 lengths. So they'll pull down, back, and down.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this field, man, I'm like Danielle Brandon, Emma Lawson, Emma Carey, Brooke Wells. I mean, there are just so many. Even Alexis Raptis is in the conversation. And then, of course, you got Paige Powers. So, yeah, maybe there's 6 where I'd be like, yeah, they can all kind of slide in and get that first place.
These are lanes 1 through 10. Paige Semenza on the left. To her right, Paige Powers, Sydney Wells in the all black, Amanda Barnhart in the black and gray, Alexis Raptis, Annika Greer, and Brooke Wells. Those are your athletes in this frame from left to right. And we are looking like a hand in the air may go up
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you,
Anytime.
Brooke has hastened her pace. Now, there was something that happened. She stepped off the runner for a sec. I don't know what it was. I peeked up as she was getting back to work, but she might have tripped up because she is having more of a neutral gaze. She's looking out in front of her and not down at the monitor of her feet, but it looked like her pace has quickened tremendously. And I think that's what you want to see from an athlete in this situation, is that they've built into this run that has, of course, been so strategically placed right here in the middle of this test. Because you get on and you start going too fast, your pace is only going to diminish. But if you can build into this and allow your heart rate to settle, you can have great success on the back half.
And we said earlier is that this is a second half event, and Sydney Wells, judge, hand in the air. Sydney Wells training out of CrossFit Nashville East, or East Nashville CrossFit, along with her sister, Brooke Wells, twin sister, Brooke Wells. Has just really gotten back into the sport the last couple of years. Daniel Brandon, judge, hand in the air. Sydney Wells is off. And now we get into the second half of the test, Adrian, and we're talking aerobic, anaerobic. This isn't exactly lined in with the science, but first half bike, pull, bike, or bike, pull, run, aerobic test. Back half of the test, pull, ski, pull, way more anaerobic for these athletes.
Yeah, it just feels that way, right? By all measures, you feel as though you're beginning to grasp for air and breath. So categorically, it's still very aerobic because they need that oxygen to keep going because they can't do it without it. But let me tell you something, they feel as though they're getting dipped in water, you know? Hey, no offense to our audio, but sometimes when it sounds like we're being dipped in the water, that's what it feels like to them out there, you know. In the middle of this test, as we still see Daniel Brandon make such quick work of that pool, and we look over at Sydney Wells still struggling there. Boy, that was fast.
Trying to give you guys the competition floor look. You guys don't want to see us talk. Daniel Brandon done with her first pull. Made up a lot of ground on Sydney Wells.
Yeah, made up a lot of ground. She's now probably got about a 10-second lead on her.
Daniel Brandon in the orange and black.
Chase, and to me, this is where the race can really be established in one if you're strong on the sled, because no one's going to really walk you down a ton in a 1K ski, right? You're not going to lose or gain a ton of time. You're just there moving. And if you can create a buffer, if Danielle Brandon can seize this opportunity and keep her momentum there with the sled, we could be looking at a distance that could be created here that others can't simply close the gap to recover from.
Danielle Brandon done with her second pull, moving to her third. Sydney Wells about halfway done with her second pull. Again, every 84-foot length for the first two sets of pulls will be done in 3 sections. And it looks like Sydney Wells' sled has actually gotten jammed up. So her sled, basically it's on a canvas, got folded up. So Danielle Brandon. And there's one thing with this sled is that this sled takes an element of, I don't know, what do you want to say? Nastiness? Grittiness?
Grit,
a
baby.
A little dog.
A little dirty. Hey, we're in the dirty South. Come on, you gotta bring the dirty here.
I think that plays into a skill set Danielle Brandon has, is just the ability to get a little dirty under the hood when it comes to some of these grit movements.
Listen, man. From all accounts, I don't know Danielle very closely. She gives no Fs. just her being her to the top level, and I would imagine that grittiness carries into her competitive spirit. We've seen her even have run-ins with judges, right? Like, yo,
hey,
you give me that number.
Hey, we can all read lips. What's the saying?
Yeah,
we can all read lips.
And that type of personality is both a gift and a curse. And if she learns to harness it and really learn how to channel her energy and focus into her performance and not be detracted in any way from the external stuff, boy, that's a dangerous mindset to be able to bring in. And oh, by the way, she's pretty fit.
As athletes are working their way through these final pulls, it's really just Danielle Brandon alone on the ski erg. And Danielle Brandon is one of those athletes that has the ability to, we say, win the CrossFit Games based off her performance trajectory over the last couple of years. 2019 cut, 2020 top 10, about 13th, 2021, working her way up. But she has been getting 4th last year. Who was in a podium position up and down throughout the weekend. Danielle Brandon, center part of your screen, working on the skier, finally joined by Sydney Wells. Emma Carey. Emma Carey just to her right. Emma Lawson now getting into the mix. We just passed the 20-minute mark. Just past the 20-minute mark. Danielle Brandon is ahead of any pace that we've seen so far. Usually we've seen about the 23-minute mark where most athletes were on the skiers. So they look like they're minutes ahead of pace of our top times to beat. Only 4 women have actually completed this test in the first 2 heats. This is the 3rd and final heat for the individual event, or test number 1. We've got on the skiers, Danielle Brandon. To her right, Emma Lawson. Emma Carey behind her. Outside of screen, you have Sydney Wells and Amanda Barnhart. Just 5 of the 20 athletes in this heat on the skier. They have a 1,000-meter ski and following up with a 92-foot sled pull to the finish line. And we have seen a lot of lead changes happen on the sleds.
Yes.
But it's been Danielle Brandon that seems to be the most consistent so far.
Yeah, when we watch the way that she pulls the sled, it's about the same distance that she's covering with each pull, and that pays off tremendously when you look at over time how many this whole test accumulates to. We are waiting anxiously to see whose hand goes up first over here on these skiers.
Here's the ladies chasing Danielle Brandon. You have Alexis Raptis on your left. Behind her, to the right, Amanda Barnhart. And then Sydney Wells, who's actually to the skier before all 3 of them. She's behind. You can see Chuck Carswell, head judge here at the North America East Semifinal. She had an early lead. She's been going back and forth with Danielle Brandon, mostly on the machines, though. As Danielle Brandon was first to the skier. So we are getting closer to the end of this 1,000-meter ski. And then as we were saying earlier, we have a 92-foot sled pull to the finish line.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to make some noise for Danielle.
Here we go. I didn't even see a hand go up. She just got off the skier.
Danielle Brandon off the skier. Right around the 23-minute mark. Some of our better times have been around the 27 to 28-minute mark.
And she's still making short work of that sled. Hinging, pulling, watch her drive her hips open if you guys are getting an opportunity to have a visual depiction of what Danielle Brandon has got going on. It's a great example of core to extremity where she's bracing in her midline. She uses the biggest muscles in her body through her hips and then pulls with her upper body and her arms. It's been a way that she's been able to conserve energy throughout this entire test for every pull.
First pull is done for Danielle Brandon. The first 2 pulls are the same length we've had for the last 2 sections of this pull in this test. The 3rd pull is going to be a little bit longer to the finish line. You see Danielle Brandon center screen, orange top, gray pants.
Over a minute lead on anyone else.
As Danielle Brandon a minute ahead of the field, minutes ahead of the best time we've seen so far. So she can keep this pace. This looks like an event win to kick off the weekend for Danielle Brandon. 2 more lengths to go.
All right, now one thing I want you to watch her now though. Look what's happening with her pull. So she has about a 50, we're at about a 1 minute and 15 second advantage here on Emma Carey as she elongates her rope. But, okay, Danielle's strokes have shortened dramatically.
Emma Carey, left side of your screen. Trying to finish or get her first pull started. You can see in the background you do have Danielle Brandon, so it's Emma Carey that has now moved herself into second place, as Sydney Wells is done with her 1K row. Amanda Barnhart done with her 1K row. But as it looks right now, it is all Danielle Brandon. Emma Lawson, center part of your screen. Blue pants, blue top. She's off the ski erg. So as it stands right now, Danielle Brandon first place. Emma Carey in second. And then about a three-way tie between Sydney Wells, Amanda Barnhart, and Emma Lawson for that third place. Danielle Brandon on her last pull. Now she has to pull it all the way to the red stop mat.
We're getting a shot here at Danielle Brandon making her final pull.
Danielle Brandon about halfway done. We're at 20.
There's no doubt about it, Chase. After that ski, that grit, that dog that we talked about, you having to bring out, that is where it has to be on full swing here.
Is there any self-preservation what happens after this test with the rings? Or is it just get the win when you can get the win?
You got to get the win. Points matter. Hey, man, you know, one of the questions, if I was posed that by my athlete, I'd say, hey, do you want to go to the CrossFit Games or not? Every point, baby. We got to fight and scrap, fight and scrap. And you know what you got to do? All year long, you've got to prepare to recover so that you can give it your all every test.
Danielle Brandon just a couple of pulls away.
Come on, ladies and gentlemen, she's going for one more big pull.
And Danielle Brandon will take test number 1 to kick off the weekend here, the 2023 North America East Semifinal. We scan the rest of the field. Emma Carey was in second place. But slowly catching up, you have Amanda Barnhart.
Yep, they're neck and neck at this point.
Even Emma Lawson is in the mix. Emma Carey just fell back.
Yeah, she's been dropping to the ground on almost every pull. But again, as long as she keeps those feet rooted through the floor, that's okay. She's going to make her way. You got to go. I know these girls got to feel each other's presence here. It's a race.
Emma Carey and Amanda Barnhart are now tied as they step onto the finishing mat. Barnhart's chalking up. Emma Carey slips back one more time. She has ceded a lot of ground to Amanda Barnhart.
I just watched Amanda Barnhart peek over their shoulder, too. She's like trying to figure out where Emma is in reference to her sled. How much time do I have? How much ground do I have to make up?
Amanda Barnhart in the front part of your screen in the black shorts, gray top. Slowly running down Emma Carey, who had about a 20-second lead going into this final pull.
They're neck and neck now. Amanda looks like she's overtaken the lead here.
Emma Carey continues to fall down.
Yeah, and right now, it's not that Amanda's pulling much further, but the frequency of her pulls is that much quicker.
Amanda Carey, bottom right part of your screen. Amanda Barnhart to your left. Emma Carey continuing to do a fallback technique, but bleeding time. Amanda Barnhart inching closer, now at the air runner. Emma Carey 5 feet away, but Amanda Barnhart looks like she'll get one pull. And Amanda Barnhart will take second in the test in this heat number 3.
Emma Lawson closing in on Emma Carey. Okay, Carey across the finish line.
Emma Carey, she's across the finish line. Sydney Wells now trying to make her pull across, and it looks like Emma Lawson.
Emma Lawson here, about 2 more pulls.
Emma Lawson top left, 1 more pull to get to the finish line. Sydney Wells to the right, she's trying to get a top 5 finish in her first debut here at the North America East Semifinal.
1 minute left, man. Every rep's really got to count here for these ladies. Fisa Gaffi out there, not a test that is in her favor perhaps, but she has to scrap for every repetition she can in a test like this.
Danielle Brandon took the heat, followed by Amanda Barnhart, Emma Carey, Emma Lawson, Sydney Wells on the left part of your screen in the all black.
You know, I'm surprised to see Paige Powers with a bit of struggle here on the sled. She'd have been one of my picks for this test to be towards the top.
25 seconds left before we hit that 30-minute cap. Sydney Wells looks like she's 2 pulls away. 1 more pull for Sydney Wells. A few of the athletes' time in the previous 2 heats should play into factor where some of these athletes finish. This will be about 10 seconds to the cap. And some finishes right around, I believe, at 28-minute mark. So some of those best times we saw in the previous heat.
Wow.
Here are the women who will be on the floor for this 6th and final heat. Emma Lawson and Emma Carey will be right next to each other. Two future stars of the sport. Emma Lawson, who was the overall leader at one point last year at the CrossFit Games.
And is just, what, 16, 17 years old, which is absolutely unbelievable. But Emma Carey to her left, another teenage phenom, took the year off due to an injury, and she looked wonderful this morning. So I can't wait to see Emma Carey back in the mix.
Annika Greer is another one of those young up-and-coming stars here. Unfortunately, not able to make it all the way through the season last year because you missed a score submission window. That ended her season. She's looking for some redemption here.
Yeah, and she was one of those athletes that we were billing to be one of those new young phenoms to make the CrossFit Games, and because of that submission error, we weren't able to see her in competition last year.
And for those of you playing the Will We Show Matt Fraser on the camera drinking game, now's the time to take a shot.
Take a shot. I suggest using beer. It's going to be a long weekend for you if he's still here.
10 seconds.
Matt Fraser and his lovely bride, Sammy. Congratulations to the two of them, expecting their first child.
Baby girl.
Final heat's underway. 47 reps from Lexi Neely. That is the score to beat here. Those 5 ring complexes. Toes to ring, muscle up, and a dip. Counts as 1 rep.
Big thing here is utilizing your swing to help with the pull. I was talking to Dave Durante the other day about how he would approach this ring complex, and it's being patient and big with that swing. On the toes to ring, make sure you lay out. We don't rush the pull. A lot of times with that ruck on your back, people tend to maybe panic pull a little bit too soon, maybe over pull. Let the swing do the work. Your arms are going to get enough taxed with the ring dip, doubling up, and the burpees over the box.
Well, Emma Lawson was one of the first women to the one-legged squats, along with Alexis Raptis and Annika Greer. Then top of your screen in lane number 10, Carolyn Stanley. Then now Brooke Wells, we're going to keep an eye on her, ran into some trouble in test number 1. She got time capped and looked to be having an issue with one of her feet or / ankle afterwards. And she's towards the back here in heat number 6. She has yet to get off the rings.
It's been one of the things that I would say Brooke hasn't been traditionally great at is high volume pulling gymnastics, and you add a ruck in there and that just exacerbates the issue. Emma Lawson just springing off that box. Again, the tiebreaker overall will be the total number of burpee box jump overs these athletes do in the first round only.
So Alexis Raptis, she's now on the far left side of your screen. Emma Carey there as well on lane number 6, purple shorts. Amanda Barnhart in lane 2, closest to the camera.
Amanda Barnhart making that move to HWPO in the off season. And
well,
for her, it's
sorry, Jason. We got Emma Carey and Emma Lawson now moving their boxes. Looks like Carey's in front there.
Yeah, for Barnhart, it's can we shore up a couple holes that have been a problem for a couple years? And that's usually that high volume pulling gymnastics for. Had a great start to the day this morning in test number 1. So that engine has been building a bit, and that upper body will get its first real gymnastics test of the day here in test number 2.
You see Brooke Wells coming into view now on the left side of your screen. She was, I believe, on her 4th of 5 sets here for the one-legged squats. And she only has 15 seconds left. Well, now she's done. So that was her final set. Now she's on to the burpee box jump overs, and so far doesn't look like she's laboring at all on a foot. So that's good news for her. The final 3 seconds is Emma Carey was just ahead of Emma Lawson.
Now, there's one thing that Emma Carey does and does well is pushing the pace from the beginning, whether she's fearless, which is one of them, but has the ability to do that and sustain it is another. You'll see a lot of athletes that'll start a little too quick too soon and tail off towards the end. Emma Carey is not one of those athletes. She is not afraid to go for it from the beginning.
Unofficially 21 reps in round one. We were talking about Brooke Wells. For more on her, let's go down to Mike Arsenault.
Well, you guys alluded to it during that first round there, but yeah, Brooke had some work on her ankle by the medical staff in the athlete warm-up area for about 15 minutes. She was moving a little bit gingerly on her left foot, so when she was going through her warm-up, was very methodical about it. Well, we don't know if the injury was created in test number one or if it was just aggravated there. We'll continue to keep an eye on the squats and the jumps through the rest of this test.
Thank you, Mike. And no tape on that ankle, just that timing chip that you saw.
And the interesting thing actually for Brooke is the tape on her wrists. She has she's trying to utilize a little bit of a mixed grip. You have your false grip where wrists rest on top of the rings that aids in the turnover, usually for strict ring muscle-ups, not quite safe or regular, but what she's doing is with that tape job, it's allowing to get that kind of a hybrid grip. Now, why would you do that? It's going to shorten the pull. It's going to shorten that lever arm and make their turnover a little bit easier. So, for example, athletes that are not confident in the turnover, it will help them a little bit with this complex.
Emma Lawson and Alexis Raptis were the first two women to get to the one-legged squats. Annika Greer's right there, and here comes Emma Carey, who got through 21 box jump overs in round one to take the lead here by a rep over Lawson. And I have a feeling that you should probably get used to seeing the two of these battle it out for the lead in the heat, not only here, but also in Madison, Wisconsin.
And Lawson's slight advantage is in the first half of this test, which is the ring complex and the pistols. Lawson's positioning on these is absolutely beautiful when she gets in that bottom single leg squat position.
Matt Torres on the left side of your screen in the hat, the coach of Emma Carey. Now Lawson is on the box jump overs along with Emma Carey. Here comes Alexis Raptis as well.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Matt Torres before this weekend started. He says, one of the things I have to do with Emma is to get her to slow down, either whether it's in training or take rest days. And so for her is exactly what we talked about after the first round of this, is that, okay, now we're on the competition floor, now you can go fast. We've been building it up for some time. Now it's time to unleash the hounds.
Take the restrictor plate off the old Red Dragon. Less than a minute to go here in the second of 3 rounds. Emma Lawson and Emma Carey pretty much neck and neck, as I believe Lawson was able to get maybe 1 or 2 reps in on her box jump overs before Carey started. Now they're dead even here in this round.
Well, Carey actually had finished ahead of her at the end of that last set of 10, but forgot to move the box and lost that lead. So Carey's gonna have to actually get that lead back from Lawson. She's been cycling a hair faster, but it's not a lot on these burpee box jump overs.
Alexis Raptis in the gray shorts just advanced her box. She now sits in 3rd place.
What I like about this test for Alexis Raptis, who's in the left side of your screen in the gray shorts, is that she is one of the best pressers in the field, especially when she's inverted. So when you look at the dip out of the muscle and the dip on the rings, when athletes get tired in the 3rd round, you may see Alexis Raptis shine a bit better once that fatigue settles in for the rest of the field.
Raptis won that Echo Press event last year at the CrossFit Games. Her first career event win as an individual, finishing 10th overall. Now, Bear Complex is offering fans the ultimate VIP experience at the 2023 NOBULL CrossFit Games. Scan the QR code now for your chance to win free tickets, a meet and greet with Noah Olson, and a Bear Complex prize pack filled with top quality gear. 2 rounds are down, and it looks like by the placards on the floor that Emma Lawson has a 1-rep lead on Emma Carey. Lawson with 40, Carey with 39. Raptis is in 3rd with 34 reps. 47 is the score to beat, and that belongs to Lexi Neely from Heat 5. Final round underway.
One thing to look for is the turnover at the top of this ring muscle-up and how athletes are catching on the top of the rings. Look at Raptis on the left side, lays out, leans back, and catches in a nice, tight controlled position at the top of the rings. The hard thing about ring muscle-ups versus a bar muscle-up is that the rings are dynamic. They're swinging all over the place, and you have to control that. With a ruck, it makes that even more difficult to do. So keeping that nice tight squeeze as Raptis goes unbroken on the complex, as well as Emma Lawson. So Lawson has been making her move on these single leg squats. Lawson being on the right side of your screen, Raptis on the left, but Raptis a little bit slower cycle rate than Emma Lawson. And then here comes Emma Carey behind the two of them.
Now there has been a score adjustment. Emma Carey and Emma Lawson are tied at 39 reps. Lawson did not get credit for 40th. And right now Emma Lawson ahead of Emma Carey by about 5 reps on these one-legged squats. Top of your screen is Carolyn Stanley, and she is now moved up to join Lawson on set 3 of 4 here. Alexis Raptis there as well, and now that's the final set. And now Emma Lawson trying to track down Lexi Neely's score of 47. And remember, Emma Carey has the tie break from round 1. She got 1 more rep than Emma Lawson in that round.
Lawson's got 2, looks like she'll have 3 reps on her as they move into that 40 to 50 round.
Alexis Raptis on the left. She currently sits in 3rd place. And then your leaders on the right side, Emma Carey and Emma Lawson. And both of them just took a lead, and now Emma Lawson advancing her box into the 50 to 60 range. And she has plenty of time. 40 seconds left here for Emma Lawson.
And just a nice, smooth, methodical pace.
Here comes
for
Emma Carey. Alexis Raptis still in 3rd place. Annika Greer is in that lavender outfit and purple hair in the background there. She's in the 30 to 40 range. Carolyn Stanley is also now moving into the 40 to 50 range. As you now see everybody on the floor. Amanda Barnhart, bottom of your screen, working through her reps. As
Lawson's going to run out of room.
Emma Lawson might wind up in the crowd here soon. And that's going to do it for Emma Lawson. 100 points and a win here in test number 2.
We're about to go live.
All right, the 3rd and final heat to kick off individual test number 3 semi-final. Linda. Now, Austin, we think about the first time we saw Linda come out, and that was in 2018.
That's right.
Now, you were a man of deadlift proficiency.
Yes.
How did this test stack up in 2018 for you, for what you remember?
Yeah, I think, honestly, I think then and now, I do think that the limiting factor is the same, is the bench press.
Okay.
When you think about how often that we do these 3 movements, we pull off the floor a lot, right? And this is traditionally a lot of pulling at the back, right? Deadlift and the squat coming off the floor, but the dumbbell bench really does add a layer of complexity, because most people don't dumbbell bench as much as barbell. And you're seeing that, in the heats here. So, and even, with the barbell, when it's heavy like it is, there's nowhere to hide. And when it goes away, it goes away.
I mean, we saw that no more apparent than what happened to Brooke Wells in the previous heat, who was leading by what seemed like maybe a minute on the field. And then once we got to the set of 6, right? In a 10-to-1 format, usually about that midway point of 7 is your halfway point as far as total reps are concerned. And then it took her about what looked like 10 reps to get 1 towards the end. Is that when it comes down to that, how hard is it to control maybe that element of panic that comes in on the competition floor?
Yeah, it's the element of panic, because you in a setting like this, you can see and feel it slipping from your hands. But then we're used to, as athletes, having hip-mediated movements where you can recover so much quicker and you can mask muscle fatigue with speed and efficiency. With the bench press, there's nowhere to hide. And that's something that not a lot of athletes are used to. We don't do a lot of strict work specifically on a barbell or a dumbbell. So a lot of it is unknown to athletes, and that's why I think you see some of the points of failure happen almost at uncertain times. Where in other workouts you can see the athletes are gaming that failure. In workouts like this, I think it is a little more unknown.
Athletes are working into their set of 8. That dumbbell bench posing to be a big challenge for a lot of these athletes. Early leaders, it looks like Amanda Barnhart, Paige Powers is up there in the front of the pack, and in lane number, we got Emma Carey, Alexis Raptis.
In their uniform, our elite women, this crowd sure's pretty quiet. Let's make some noise, Orlando. What's going on? It's Saturday.
Carolyn Stanley in the mix as well. Awesome, we see everybody going singles off the bat here for the clean portion. Squat clean, 105 is the weight for the women. We have anybody seen touch and go until maybe the last round, like maybe the 3-2-1 is an option. And is this a part of, not to say there's a time where you can rest or recover, but is this a managing section of this triplet?
Yeah, as I think it was articulated there at the end, it's you're never, at this weight for these athletes, you're never going to fail a rep. It's smooth, it's light to moderate. So again, when we see this type of stuff, this is get through it, because we also want to moderate the heart rate. And if you touch and go even a set of 5, your heart rate goes through the roof. And they need to control that again for the bench press.
Center part of your screen, it is Annika Greer, who's over there in lane 19. Thank you, Mike Halpin. Just show us the video while we're trying to watch it on. Annika Greer in lane 19 in the blue pants is trying to make up some ground she lost. She didn't have the best day yesterday. There's a lot of hype coming in. She had missed qualification last year on a submission error. And she was one of those athletes, a young superstar on the rise that potentially had games aspirations. Having to sit out a whole year here on the competition floor. Jocelyn, you've come in and out of competition individually, maybe taking a year off or missing a year and coming back. What's that like, coming back to the floor after those expectations from the year previously?
Well, I think the younger you are, the harder it is, right? And I think so. There's unknown. There's also what your self-expectations are. But I think at the very least, allowing a year to train with good focus and direction is always a healthy thing for the athlete. So hopefully, with a good mental aspect and mental game, this can be a really good thing, but no doubt a challenge.
I mean, oftentimes that first event back is the one you got to manage the most, even the first day, depending on how the first event goes, good or bad. But coming in that second day, after day 1 of competition, coming into Saturday, which is usually a really big day for competition, how do you maybe manage what happened in day 1, good or bad, to set yourself up for success for day 2?
Yeah, well, I think once you're in it, right? So in day 2, you forget about everything, really, the year prior, and your focus is the next event. Your focus is to beat your last event, to feel good, to set yourself up for success. So when it comes to that, it's your blinders are on, and you feel good. Middle of competition is, your body doesn't feel good, but you're in it, as opposed to the first one is nerve-wracking, and obviously the last ones have a lot on the line. But when you're in the middle of it, that's when everything comes to fruition.
Top athletes working through their final round of 7.
Greer now trying to catch up.
Across the board, no one is really separating themselves at the moment. Annika Greer was your early leader, but no one has yet to establish himself ahead of the rest. But as we're looking forward, it looks like Amanda Barnhart is moving back to the dead list as she has moved her bar. Paige Powers has moved her bar. So Paige Powers and Amanda Barnhart have now moved themselves ahead of the pack. Here comes Emma Carey. Amanda Barnhart on the right side of your screen in the gray shorts. Emma Lawson to her left in the gray pants is actually behind what looks like maybe a round. We see that Lawson maybe struggling on the bench press. So your top two is going to be Amanda Barnhart and Paige Powers. And you look at these dumbbells, Austin, the basic difference between a barbell bench and a dumbbell bench. You said last time in 2018 when you took on Linda that the bench was the gatekeeper of success here.
Yeah.
The dumbbells, does that make it even a tougher challenge to manage, not just from the weight perspective, but maybe the unfamiliarity?
Well, I think that's just it. Is athletes at this level, they know where their points of failure are, and they have a lot of practice at it under fatigue with different movement variants. And this is that level of unknown. You'll lead to two things: being too reserved or overshooting. And most athletes in this scenario are going to try to overshoot. You have to trust your ability more than waver. So, and then don't lose sight of the silent, assassin in this workout, which is that lower back, which you might not see too much in this workout, but down the road, it can really lead to, your body getting beat up. So keep an eye on that as athletes in the rest of today.
I mean, and this isn't the first event. I mean, you talked about lower back. Lots of machine work yesterday. The runner, the bike, the skier, that sled pull just totally threw everybody for a loop. So pistols, burpee box jump overs coming into this. Sometimes what we see with Boz's programming is we'll see an element of execution as being a part of this. So if you don't have the best form, back can blow up, shoulders can blow up. How much is execution playing a factor into this test?
Well, a significant amount again, and you'll see it towards the later rounds where, things to look at if you're watching. Elbows, right? Where are the elbows? Watch the elbows on the bench. Are they flaring out? Are they staying in? Where is the bar landing on that rack? Is it up high in the neck or is it low? These are things that add up, and these are small things, but the elbows are a big one to watch for the shoulders, where again, you can muscle through it at this weight. It's not super heavy, but it will start to take a toll on across the board.
Interesting to see from Amanda Barnhart. She did one deadlift drop and then two, and that may be coming into play, as you said, is maybe that back start talking to him a little bit in these later rounds.
Yeah, the eccentric part of these movements are often overlooked, and there's a lot of movement, and grip is a factor here as well. You're holding on a bar the whole time, so the grip can affect your press. That's a sneaky aspect of the bench press.
Amanda Barnhart, center part of your screen, black shorts, gray top, looking to finish out her round of 4. As Emma Carey to her right in the all black is in her round of 5. Emma Lawson just out of screen to the far right is getting to her barbell, and Amanda Barnhart in the center lane will advance forward, and she is now into our 3, 2, and 1 portion of this test. I'd like to wrap this on the left in the all black, going rep for rep to her left. Right below her is Caroline Stanley out of College Hill CrossFit. 2 reps. 3 reps done for Amanda Barnhart. Amanda Barnhart on the right side of your screen, right middle, down on her bench press. Having no issues with that dumbbell. We've seen it for 2 heats, Austin, back to back to back. The athlete had the best bench, won their heat. And Amanda Barnhart is shaping up to be one of those athletes.
Yeah, and also, it was interesting to hear in the previous heat experience on the dumbbell, experience benching, and also just longevity. The longer you do CrossFit, the longer you're going to touch these movements like a dumbbell, like a bench. So that, time under tension does matter.
Amanda Barnhart, bottom right side of your screen, now with 2 reps left. Amanda Barnhart coming into day number 2 in 3rd place overall. Behind Emma Lawson and Emma Carey, if she can hold on to this pace, she may put herself in a very good position coming into the second part of the day. And we've got some running and heavy snatches. That's a good event for Amanda Barnhart as well.
Yeah, she's moving well right now. It's smooth. I like to see the jogging from station to station. Those little things start to send a message at this point in the competition.
Amanda Barnhart, 1 deadlift, right side of your screen, moving to the bench press. Amanda Barnhart, center part of your lane, leaning back, going for her last rep of dumbbell bench. And Amanda Barnhart.
Oh, yeah.
We are at the 11-minute mark, and if she can get in, she can get herself an unofficial event win in semifinals. Linda. And look out for Paige Powers. Paige Powers just running out left side of your screen. She's coming into her final reps. 1 rep left for Paige Powers. Paige Powers coming in left center, all green. She's leaning back for her last dumbbell bench. Here comes Paige Powers. One of those athletes looking to beat Paige Powers. That'll be good for Paige. And that is going to be close to the time set by Napoli in heat number 2. And 2 of the athletes we were talking about coming in that could have some success showed it on the competition floor. It's one thing to do it on paper, it's another thing to do it out here in the field.
That's right. Yeah, and again, the execution on this is a good separator workout and just understanding the balance. But one thing I'm impressed with across the field right now, everyone is moving very well. Right? Not to lose sight of that. The squat, yes, it's heavy, but people are moving well, and that's allowing them to move quickly through this. So it's just impressive to see.
Emma Carey, right side, right middle in the all black on her final rep. Emma Carey, who's sitting in first overall by just 3 points over Emma Lawson. However, Emma Lawson has fallen well behind the field. You see Alexis Raptis on the left. She's in the set of 2, so Emma Carey could get herself a top finish here. And off screen, Austin Fisagafi has already finished this test. And that is big for an athlete like Fisagafi, who's been trying to knock on that door since the 2019 games, trying to make it individually in the new format. Strength always being a massive limiter for her.
Yeah.
This is a big for Fisagafi.
Yeah.
Alexis Raptis is in. Danielle Brandon, far right side of your screen. She has 1 rep left to go.
Finishing up under that 17-minute cap. A little less than 3 minutes remaining.
Right side of your screen is Emma Lawson, who is sitting in 2nd place after a great day yesterday, but it is the dumbbell bench that is starting to become the great equalizer here for these athletes. As you can see, Emma Carey in center screen, first overall coming in. We'll have to see if she holds on to that lead after what Amanda Barnhart just did to semifinal Linda. Emma Lawson onto the dumbbell bench. Still have just over 2 minutes left in this test. Lane number 1, Caitlin Sanders, her final rep. She'll get across right around that 15-minute mark. 15:08 unofficially. Lane number 2, Lexi Neely. She's on her set of 3. Amanda Fisher is done. Caroline Prevost looks like she may be the next to finish. Emma Lawson just crossed the finish line, so the bleeding has stopped for Emma Lawson. And Austin, when you come to an event like this, depending what you're good or you're bad at, you know what it is coming in.
Yeah.
Right? And you got a game plan until we get out here and the beep sounds.
Yeah. And I think that, we all don't know it, but every athlete has that sort of, as you said, stop the bleeding type of workout. And the points right now seem a lot more aggressive than they would, towards the end of the weekend. So if you can set yourself up, play damage control, and then set yourself up to win. But again, Emma was in a good position to begin with as an example, but they know going in where they're going to be. Everyone wants to do better no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
But again, that damage control, that happens for most all athletes. So that's when you wish you were inside the athlete's mind to know where they were at, where that could have been a very good performance for many athletes depending on what they come in with.
10 seconds left to go. here in the final heat of the individual women to kick off day 2 for the individuals. Again, the full team broadcast will be coming up here shortly, as we will take a moment to talk to Amanda Barnhart. All right, Amanda, this is not a CrossFit question.
Okay.
What's your bench?
My actual bench.
What's your actual bench?
I did 210 at quarterfinals.
210 at quarterfinals. How did the dumbbells fare differently than, say, regional Linda back in 2018?
Oh God, so much easier, but I've come a long way since regional Linda back in 2018. I had really never benched going into that, so that workout was, I was like failing the bench, getting caught on the guards the whole time. So yeah, we've come a very long way. It was much easier today than it was back then.
For the dumbbell version, I mean, obviously you smashed that. What is about the dumbbells that maybe work in your favor with that movement?
I don't know, it's just a stability thing. I've worked really hard on my shoulder stability over the years, so having swimmer shoulders, they're a little bit loose, so I have to work really, really hard to stabilize, but once you kind of lock it in, I feel like it's pretty easy.
So you say working on stabilization. You made a move to HWPO. What are some of the things you have been working on specifically to maybe like fill some gaps in your training?
We've done, well, weightlifting is not a gap for me, but we've done a ton of lifting this year. I've lifted more this year than I have probably my entire life. I think it showed in that workout, but it's cool because we've built the fitness base and we've worked on strengths. We're obviously still hammering gymnastics like crazy, but it's fun to come out and win a workout that I should win because I feel like the last couple of years I've kind of gotten away from that.
Is there more pressure to win the workout you're supposed to win versus the one you know you're going to be bad at?
100%, yeah. I feel like in it, you get more gratification out of doing well in the workouts that are hard for you, 100%, but if you finish 5th place in a workout, you know you should have won, that hurts a lot more.
You're talking about working on weightlifting. Obviously, like weightlifting is a good strength for you when it comes to this, but I talked to Matt Fraser yesterday, and it's not just the weight training, but the technique of the weight training. Has that really been what of a bigger shift in focus for you in this off season?
Yes, I've been working with Amy Everett, so since November. It's been a game changer. I have just learned so much from her, and just like little tiny tweaks in my snatch and my clean and the setup and the jerk, just things that I have not known over the years that have just made that bit of a difference.
Now, we needed to talk to you yesterday, but you're 3rd overall after 2 events. Big aerobic test, which really maybe have turned into a sled test in that. Did you have, basically, did that shift mid-workout for you in test 1?
I think going into it, we weren't sure what was going to happen, you know, like, is this going to be a run workout or is this going to be a sled workout? Obviously, I was hoping for it to be a sled workout. Turned out in my favor, but yeah, once I got on the runner after the first sled, I was like, I don't care how slow I go. I ran so slow. I think I got 10th off the runner or something. It didn't matter. So yeah, that was a really, really fun workout. I was really destroyed from it, if I'm being honest, just because it was 28 minutes of working really, really hard and like max effort on that sled, but yeah, it was a good test.
Is day 1 really the day you were looking at? Is like, hey, let's get through day 1 and we're looking forward to day 2? How are you looking at how these events stack up for you over the course of the weekend?
Honestly, when I saw all the workouts, I was like, okay, we're ready. And I think that says a lot about programming and training and what I've been doing up to this point. It's like, I never want to hope for something not to come up. I want to be prepared for whatever's coming, and I feel very, very prepared.
All right, well, let's talk about what's coming up. A back-to-back test, test 4 to test 5. How are we feeling going into this next event?
I tested it, worst case scenario, I tested it with shuttle runs because I had no clue what the run was going to be, and I had about 90 seconds to lift. So I'm looking forward to having a little bit more time than 90 seconds on the barbell. That second part is going to hurt really, really, really bad.
That was going to be my last question. Excited about test 4. How are we feeling about test 5?
Test 5 is survive. Hammer out the barbell and just get ahead on the run because I know people are going to be running me down.
Well, hey, a great start to day 2. Appreciate you coming by. Congratulations on your unofficial win for semifinals, Linda, and good luck for the rest of the weekend.
Thank you so much.
10 women here in this 6th and final heat. The overall leaders will be right next to each other in lanes 4 and 5. Amanda Barnhart and Emma Carey sit atop the overall standings. Barnhart is our leader, but she's only 3 points up on Emma Carey. Barnhart coming off the win in test 3 earlier today.
And Emma Carey came into the day 3 points above Emma Lawson for the first place position, so bumped her down into 2nd. Lawson sitting in 3rd, but Barnhart's an athlete that should do well in this test, but Amanda Fisher, very strong, capable athlete. She's had some great success so far this weekend. looking to build off a lot of momentum she had early on in test 1 and during Linda earlier this morning. But what things she would like to see: big scales, big weights, odd objects. We're looking for that third one coming up here with big weights.
And she has a big target on her back, 11th place overall. That's the final qualifying spot to the CrossFit Games. We start with the 800-meter run.
6-minute time cap. Start with an 800
Amanda Fisher, All-American college softball player at the University of Wisconsin. She's been on teams the last 2 years, 7th and 6th, so just outside those qualifying spots on a team. 2 places and then 1 place, so she decided to switch it over to individual. She's been working on her engine coming into this weekend. When you look at her finishing places so far, sitting in 11th place, as you said, she got 2nd to start the weekend. 2nd place to start the weekend. That was very engine and had some strength in that sled. 18th in Linda earlier this morning. Now Emma Lawson on the right side. Here's the crazy thing, still sitting in 3rd place after that tough finish of 20th this morning.
2 women who started their CrossFit Games careers as teenagers. This was the Games podium in 2019 for the teenagers. Emma Carey took 1st and Emma Lawson took 3rd. Probably not the last time we're going to see those 2 women on a CrossFit Games podium.
Yeah, and you know, we'll see what order they're going to be in, but how their careers have started off so far here in the open individual competition scene has been absolutely incredible.
The 210 pounds is still the top lift we have seen in this test, courtesy of Danielle Perrin. So Amanda Barnhart, who again was the only woman to go sub 12 on test 3 earlier today.
Obviously, Amanda with her 800 meter run to that. This is the athlete I'm looking at, Fisa Goffi. She got 8th in Linda this morning. Fisa Goffi's crux has always been the heavy weight. She's great engine, good gymnastic skill sets. This is gonna be the test that could possibly make or break her weekend. This snatch coming up is pretty much been that bulletin board event for her for the entire weekend coming in.
She's in 4th place overall right now with 231 points. Danielle Brandon next to her. Brandon in 6th place overall with 225 total points. Started this competition with a win in test number 1. But since then, she's been outside the top 10, a 16th and then a 12th.
Now, Danielle Brandon, the last couple of years, working her way up the leaderboard at the Games, getting 4th last year at the 2022 NOBULL CrossFit Games. I talked to her coach, Matt Torres, and one of the biggest things they've been working on this offseason is getting her healthy. So she's been battling injury in and out all the last couple of years of competition, but this year is one of the first years that she's been coming into live competition, healthy, ready to rock.
Just about every judge has his or her hand in the air. And then we will get to the portion of this test that counts. And looking at the placards on the floor, everything is between 165 and 175.
It's like
Amanda Fisher off first. Here comes Emma Lawson.
Sean, it's absolutely incredible what these athletes have been able to do in just a 2-minute time frame.
Amanda Barnhart is off. She's going to open at 165. Lawson makes 175 to open. Fisher is good at 175.
And for Lawson, that was a nice, clean lift. And we've seen some struggles on the first rep here and there, but you know, even Alexis Raptis hit 165. Emma Carey going for 175.
Danielle Brandon made 175. Emma Carey at 175. So Alexis Raptis at 165. Lawson's jumping up to 185. Powers is jumping up to 185. Emma Lawson just made 185. Fisher in the back there is at 190.
Lawson at 75 and 85 in less than 40 seconds.
And Paige Powers just made 185. Fee Sagafi at 165.
Good for Fee. I think for Fee, if she gets close to 180, that is enough to keep her there, kind of that mid-pack, maybe top third.
Danielle Brandon makes 185. Emma Carey, 185. And you just saw Alexis Raptis, closest to the screen there, make 175. Now Emma Lawson at 195 as Amanda Barnhart just made 185. That's going to count for Lawson. Fisher is going to make 190.
So Lawson at 195. Looks like Brandon may have 195 in the bar, top right side of your screen, along with Paige Powers.
Well, Paige Powers has a 2 in there, so we'll see where she's going to go. Paige Powers at 200.
190 for Barnhart.
195 for Barnhart. Paige Powers has 200 pounds on the barbell. Now this would put her in 4th as Lawson can't make 205. Fisher has made her lift and Paige Powers made hers.
Paige Powers getting 200 at the buzzer. And if you can get top 5 in both of these tests, from 4 to 5, that is huge for your overall score. Again, these tests are 100 points apiece.
And keep an eye on the back. Both Amanda Fisher and Paige Powers going for 200 pounds. That's big for Paige Powers. She's another athlete inside a qualifying position right now. 220 points, 8th place overall. And for Fisher to make that, again, 11th place for her. They're tied in points with Chiara Napoli at 173. So she's looking to put some distance between herself and the women immediately behind her in the overall standings as we now get set for test 5.
So remember, Napoli actually won her heat earlier, so she had a very good time in test number 5. 8 snatches at 125 into an 800-meter air run to finish.
Because we have seen some slides to the finish. So to the finish line first, that's the tiebreaker. 30
look at
seconds.
Emma Lawson. Danielle Brandon, who just put up a score of 195 pounds in test 4.
10 seconds. Stand by.
And here we go.
We were talking to Matt Fraser earlier in the previous heat. It's touch and go all the way. Touch and go all the way. Get to the runner as fast as you can. One of the fastest times to the runner we've seen is 25 seconds. And another thing, Sean, we've had a lot of ties across the board. And the question that came up is, what is the tiebreaker? The tiebreaker for test 4 is your time for test 5. That's how valuable this test is when we're looking at the overall leaderboard.
Just about everybody getting to the runner at the same time. Danielle Kearns in the yellow was the last one there, but we have seen some athletes get there late and make a charge. Think about Callista Lang and Shelby Neal both making a charge earlier.
I was speaking to Chris Henshaw earlier about this test in particular and how to approach the second 800 once we're coming off the 8 snatches at 125 as Emma Carey's just leaning into that pace. And he said the first 200 might be the most valuable meters to set yourself up for success, either good or bad. You take out the first 200 too fast, that's gonna be a long 600 meters to the finish line. But you wanna get the belt going as quickly as you can. The second 200 meters, backing off the pace a little bit that you started the first 2. It's almost settling in. And then you're halfway home. How does that second 200 feel? Does it feel good? Maybe I lean forward just an extra half an inch. Put my feet a little bit higher on the top end of that curve to bring that belt down a little faster. Using your body weight to aid in the speed on these runners is key.
Emma Lawson 3 points back of Amanda Barnhart for the overall lead here. It looks like Danielle Brandon is your leader right now.
I think people forget that Danielle Brandon is a very good runner. Track and field background. Obviously, she's more well known for her handstand push-up, handstand and walk prowess, but she is a great runner.
Track athlete at Sacramento State. Emma Carey's judge just moved her placard into the final section there, and her judge's hand is in the air. Danielle Brandon's judge's hand is in the air. You know, we talked earlier in this competition about Matt Torres, Emma Carey's coach, telling her to slow down. Now is not that time.
Now is not the time. Sean, I don't know about you, but I don't smile at the end of any run pace that I do. If you can look at Danielle Brandon on the right side, although we saw the same thing at the end of her sled pull in test one. And
we'll see who's off first here. And here goes Emma Carey.
Wow.
And it's going to be Emma Carey taking the heat. Sydney Wells is going to win the test. Brandon is across. Now here comes Emma Lawson. Alexis Raptis is through.
Amanda Barnhart had that 3-point lead on Carey coming into
Barnhart
test
and
4
Powers
5.
were racing. Sorry, Jason, that was dead even. And it's going to be Barnhart winning the race by a half second.
Wow.
Caroline Stanley is across. Fisa Goffey made it. And now here comes Amanda Fisher. But Danielle Kearns, the only athlete left on the floor here. Well, Emma Carey is going to take second place in that test. Brandon's going to get third, and Lawson will take fourth.
We're talking about breaking ties on the snatch portion in test 4 being the run itself. Barnhart outlifted Carey by 5 pounds. That was a 4-place separation.
Ten women here in the final heat. Fisa Goffey in lane 2. She comes in 7th place overall. Still has some work to do, but on the right side of that cut line.
On the right side of these tests, she got through a big 2 days of heavy tests. And what she did last night in test number 4, that snatch event, was huge for Fisa Goffey.
And over in lane number 8, Alexis Raptis, 6th place overall with 382 points.
Hey, are we doing handstand push-ups? We're doing handstand push-ups, right? Well, we're going to talk about Alexis Raptis if he got handstand push-ups. Won the Echo Bike Challenge at the games last year.
And here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
The final heat is underway. Start with the 20 overhead squats at 125 pounds. And there is Emma Lawson in the black top.
I'm curious, Emma Lawson has that elbow sleeve on. I've never seen that.
As a Masters athlete, I'm like, can I get one of those?
It's standard issue for you turn 35 years old, and all of a sudden in the mail comes 1 elbow sleeve. Not 2, 1.
Well, Emma Carey's going to be first of the rower. Emma Carey, our overall leader, coming into this test with 428 points, 6 points up on Amanda Barnhart. Now Emma Lawson is there. Raptis, Brandon, Barnhart, here comes Paige Powers, the rest of the field.
See, Emma Carey doing her best Noel Olsen impression. Coming out hot. But that's what she does. And here's the thing. She can hang on. And she talked about it yesterday. It's just something. I was actually talking to Matt Torres before we got here this weekend. He's like, the thing I have to do with Emma Carey is just to sometimes put the brakes on, put the governor on, because she wants to charge headlong into it. She's fearless. She also has the ability to sustain those things. As she said it the other day, it's like, I'm not afraid to hurt, I'm not afraid to go hard. And when you have the ability to actually sustain that, that's a great combination in competition, maybe not training every day.
Let's go down to Mike Arsenault.
Just had a chance to talk to Josh Woolley, Emma Lawson's coach. Chase, you mentioned the elbow sleeve. She tweaked it a little bit on her 205 snatch in test number 4. So we'll see if that is a factor during the gymnastics portion of this test or also the final 20 overhead squats.
Definitely be keeping an eye on that as Emma Lawson works her way closer to those 20 wall-facing handstand push-ups.
And the thing, when Mike, you're talking about the gymnastics portion, a big part of that I'm thinking of is those seated legless rope climbs. And because when you look at the elbow specifically, what is some of the biggest muscles you're using that is actually one of the smallest ones when it comes to the climb, and that's your actual bicep. And where that inserts in that elbow position, depending on how that got strained yesterday, could be the tougher movement of the gymnastics test we have in the middle.
Hands in the air now for both Emma Lawson and Emma Carey. Emma Carey is done. And right to work on the handstand pirouettes. Here comes Emma Lawson. She'll be the second woman off along with Alexis Raptis. One more pirouette for Emma Carey.
And Fisa Gaffi and Amanda Barnhart are just getting off the row. Now for Fisa Gaffi, the middle part is where she's excited about. For Amanda Barnhart, quite the opposite. Barnhart being the middle part of your screen in the dark shorts about midway through. We're talking to her yesterday, and it's like, this is the survival event for Amanda Barnhart, where Fisa Gaffi is nearly the opposite.
Emma Carey right to work on her rope climbs. Emma Lawson right next to her as well. There's Alexis Raptis and Danielle Brandon.
Raptis is really doing some textbook legless climbs.
This is rep number 2 for Emma Carey on the left side of your screen.
Yeah, Carey, good climb, steady, extending a little bit in the arm. You don't really want the elbow joint to open up past 90 degrees. It's just not a strong position to be in. If I talk to you, it's like, hey, what would you rather do, a bicep curl? Full extension to halfway or halfway to the shoulder? Look at Alexis Raptis on the right side of your screen. Look how close she keeps her elbows. She's climbing with her lats, not her biceps. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do a legless rope climb.
Emma Carey is on to the wall-facing handstand push-ups.
No rep and went back up. Whoa, what a baller move. Oh.
Danielle Brandon, meanwhile, is on to the handstand push-ups, along with Emma Lawson and Amanda Barnhart.
Danielle Brandon,
pardon me,
like
that's not Amanda Barnhart, that is Emma Carey.
Now let's see what Alexis Raptis does. Like I said, she won the Echo Press last year that had the wall-facing handstand push-ups debut at a deficit. Alexis Raptis being in the light blue left middle part of your screen.
Barnhart now making, I believe that's her second ascent up the rope, as Raptis.
Is that unbroken? Oh, getting water. We're getting water. Okay.
The two Emmas, Emma Lawson and Emma Carey. Lawson on the left, Carey on the right.
Now, one thing for Carey, if you look on the right side of your screen, look at where her head is hitting right between her hands, and that those elbows are flaring out. I was talking to Dave Durante the other day about the wall-facing handstand push-ups itself, and you want to keep your elbows in as tight as you can and not actually get your head between your hands. That is not a good position. Think about a strict press, Sean. If you put the hands directly over your heads, that's not a strong position to be in. You want the elbows in, bar in front, or even dumbbells in front to be at a strong base position to press from.
Well, Danielle Brandon is now taking the lead. She's back to the rope for the second time here as she got through her 20 wall-facing handstand push-ups. And Emma Lawson, right side of your screen, she's onto the rope climbs as well. Those are your top two. Here comes Alexis Raptis now on the left.
I'm curious about Raptist. So she had that no rep in these previous two. She went a couple hand lengths down and then back up. And the question there is like, is there going to be a lasting effect? Because to stop your momentum and to restart that mid climb is absolutely insane.
Paige Powers is also on her second and final set of rope climbs. She's on the right side.
Paige Powers qualifying individually for the open division for the first time last year. Great performance at her semifinal along with Emma Lawson, but taking a win at Wodapalooza this year, and Paige Powers is riding some great momentum.
Well, Danielle Brandon, this won't be a problem for her. She's on the handstand pirouettes, most likely going to go unbroken here. Now, Paige Powers is done as well. She has moved into second place. Emma Lawson is finished. Danielle Brandon to the rower, 10:46. That's the top time. Second and third place on the right side of your screen, Paige Powers and Emma Lawson. And now Alexis Raptis is on to her second and final handstand pirouettes.
Danielle Brandon is 12 seconds off the pace for Samantha Pugh, but the difference here is that Danielle Brandon being in the final heat and a couple other athletes much closer to her in this heat than Pugh was, is that if she can have a strong row and some quick squats, she may be able to take over that best time.
Paige Powers in second place behind Brandon. Now Alexis Raptis is to the rower. When Emma Carey's starting to fall off the lead pace here, she was out front quickly and slowed on those wall-facing handstand push-ups, and now looking to close out her rope climbs, and she will do it.
That's one of the things for Emma Carey. As I said, we saw her struggling a little bit on the wall-facing handstand push-ups, and just the cumulative total of that upper body pulling, upper body pressing. That's one of Emma Carey's, I would say, weaknesses when it comes to her overall skill set. Now she has improved, but when you're going to the likes of, the Danielle Brandons and the Alexis Rapises in your own heat, it might not look as good as it could be.
Well, Emma Carey's getting called back to the line as Emma Lawson is through. Hands have to start behind those lines. And remember, something we haven't talked about is that you have to stay in your lane on these pirouettes. Your hands cannot touch those white lines on either side of the lane on the pirouettes. But Danielle Brandon's in her final 100 meters on the left side of your screen. Here comes Emma Carey to the rower. And Danielle Brandon is done, and she will have a little more than a minute to get her 20 overhead squats if she wants to take this test.
Sean, look at the left side of your screen. Amanda Barnhart is now gotten to the rower. She said, I'm just trying to survive, and she's sitting here in the top 6 in this heat.
She said this was just damage control for this test, and mission accomplished for her. Danielle Brandon almost done with her first set of 10. She has now 1 rep remaining. 10:46 from Samantha Pugh from heat 3.
As Danielle Brandon's getting to the bar in the backside, Alexis Raptis and Paige Powers are getting to their first reps side by side.
Brandon's going to have a really good shot here of taking test number 6. And Danielle Brandon is going to do it. Danielle Brandon energy here to take test 6 and wrap up 100 points. And now Paige Powers and Alexis Raptis are fighting for second place in the heat. Annika Greer looks like she's going to wrap up second place with her time.
One thing to look at here, Sean, Paige Powers' left elbow. It's a little bit blocked by her head, but she doesn't have a steady lockout there. You can see that arm shaking, reaching back a little bit, where Alexis Raptis on the right is just locked in tight. That's the fatigue buildup of the gymnastic skills we've had.
1 rep remaining for both Raptis and Powers. I think Raptis is going to get across the finish line first.
Couldn't believe Paige hung onto that bar. That was incredible.
It's going to be Raptis by 0.3 of a second.
I know Emma Lawson is behind your top finishers here, but she is ahead of Emma Carey. And if Lawson wants to get closer and closer to that first place position, she's got to keep chipping away points and taking it away from Emma Carey.
Lawson now with 2 reps remaining. Emma Carey right to work on her second set of 10. Lawson is done, and she is across.
Okay, so at minimum, Lawson's gonna pick up 3 on Carey.
Lawson with a 6th place finish in the test.
3 on Barnhart.
And here comes Emma Carey. Amanda Barnhart getting to her second set of 10 overhead squats as Paige Semenza on the far right side of your screen is on her overhead squats.
Barnhart talking yesterday, just trying to survive here.
Last 4 reps.
You're getting a time underneath the 13-minute mark. That's not surviving, that's competing. It looks like Amanda Barnhart has shored up some holes this offseason. Amanda Barnhart looking very dangerous here at the North America East Semifinal.
12:50.13 seconds as you see the standings here, as Paige Semenza is one of those women who's hovering around the cut line. 282 points. And she'll certainly help her cause if she can get herself across the finish line inside the time cap. That should not be a problem. She only has 10 reps remaining here. Fisa Gaffi is back on the rower.
Well, there's a couple athletes in here. Semenza being one of them. We're talking about the athletes on the outside looking in. Paige Semenza's finishing up here, but Fisa Gaffi is still on the rower. Amanda Fisher hasn't got off the rope, and Caroline Stanley is still on the rope as well. So those are 3 athletes that are opening the door back up to our athletes trying to qualify.
So Paige Semenza will take 16th in the test, 13:46.45 seconds. Less than 2 minutes remaining for Fisa Gaffi through her first 10. So that's Amanda Fisher on the right side back in lane 1, who's just not able to get these rope climbs done.
And this is tough, is that if we think about, the question was, can Sydney Wells hang on to that qualifying position? Decent finish for Sydney Wells, but with Stanley and Fisher struggling, that is good news for Sydney Wells, is maybe not solidifying, but shoring up a better position going into the final event.
Fisa Gaffi will take 20th right now in the test. And I misspoke about Annika Greer. Greer's time will be the 3rd best. Samantha Pugh will take 2nd. But still for Annika Greer.
Oh, great for Annika Greer, yeah. 51 points out of a qualifying position, picking up a big chunk of points here.
94 for Annika Greer. So take a look at Danielle Brandon, who's going to get 100 for the test win.
And Sean, if you think, if you get a 20th place finish with this scoring system, you get 50 points. Only 50 points.
Caroline Stanley on the right and Amanda Fisher on the left, just trying to get in a good rep here.
And we can see Sydney Wells had 280 points in that 11th place position. Wozni is at 274. She fell off the pace a little bit. Prevost had a decent finish. Chefs had a good finish. Neal, Greer, and we're gonna have a pretty tight race potentially coming into that final event, which nobody wants to see, except everybody. Like I said, maybe 3 people on the cut line. That will say that.
Danielle Brandon will take test 6 with a time of 10 minutes of 41 seconds. Here are your lane assignments. The 10 women who will be closing things out for us here, and the battle for the overall lead will be right in the middle of the floor. That's Emma Carey and Danielle Brandon. They have already clinched spots at the games. Now it's a matter of who winds up on top of the podium here in Orlando.
Currently held by Emma Carey by just 3 points over Danielle Brandon, and we talked about not a sprint. This is a person who's not afraid to go out there, but Danielle Brandon, 3 points out, 1 spot away. The difference between the two.
Let's go down to Mike Arsenault with more on the woman who currently sits in 10th place, Caroline Stanley.
Well, here's an interesting wrinkle. 10 feet away from lane 10 where Caroline Stanley is, all of the athletes from heat number 5 are watching. So we have Annika Greer, who is on the bubble. We have Shelby Neal and also Carolyn Prevost. We're still not exactly sure where the places are going to shake out, but all of these women behind me are 10 feet away watching Caroline Stanley to see who will get that potential final spot for the CrossFit Games.
Stand by.
Here we go. 4:14.24 seconds. That's Brooke Wells' top time. The next best time belongs to Shelby Neal at 4:25.79. Just keep those numbers in the back of your head.
And it's just 1 or 2 spots, 1 or 2 athletes that can make a pacing error. And it doesn't have to be a minute lost. 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Could be 5 to 10 places.
Danielle Brandon and Emma Carey first 2 to the toes to bar along with Alexis Raptis. Emma Lawson is there. And now all 10 women have gotten off of the bike.
Question coming in, 20 toes to bar. All these athletes can do this once. All these athletes can do this twice. It's been a challenge to do this 3 times in a row that we've seen so far in 5 heats.
Well, Emma Carey and Danielle Brandon along with Alexis. Now Raptis has got to be careful. She just did the same thing. She rolled it on the line. Maybe it was not over, but that was close for Alexis Raptis. She did pick it up behind the line. Well, Carey and Brandon heading back. Raptis heading back. Paige Semenza sits in 4th. Emma Lawson in 5th. Paige Powers, Sydney Wells, and Caroline Stanley now towards the back here. Fisa Gaffi finds herself in last place. Now, Fisa Gaffi is not safe. If she finishes 23rd or better, she'll clinch, but
it's been a lot of good times so far.
I was going to say, we've had quite a few solid scores here that could affect that.
Danielle Brandon, Emma Carey. How often has this maybe happened over there in Naples, Florida, going head-to-head in the affiliate, and now it's head-to-head who's going to take home the North American East Semifinal win.
Well, Brandon's only 3 points back at Emma Carey for the overall lead. Carey has about a 1-rep lead on her at this point. Carey off first, Brandon right behind her. Looks like Raptis will be the next woman off the pull-up bar. Raptis is done. Oh, Carey's got the bag up, and she's opened up a little bit of a lead on Danielle Brandon. Here comes Alexis Raptis, and now Emma Lawson.
Brandon slipped with the bag on her first attempt to pick it up. Fisa Gaffi's got to be careful.
Yeah, she does. She's falling towards the back here. She just took a look down the floor to see that she's in last place in this heat. That's trouble for Fee. There's Caroline Stanley, who sits in 9th place in this heat right now. Here are your standings. Annika Greer coming in that final qualifying spot with 323 points. Shelby Neal beat Greer in the prior heat. So things are getting interesting now as far as those final spots are concerned. A no rep to start for Emma Carey on the left. She and Brandon have been neck and neck here, and like you said, very good chance that this is not the first time they have done this test side by side.
No, it is not, but Emma Carey just came off the pull-up bar. Opening up the door for Danielle Brandon.
Quick rest. Brandon a rest as well. And now carries off. 4:14.24. That's the top time from Brooke Wells. Emma Carey's got a chance to track that down. And Emma Carey, welcome back to competition. She will take the test and she will stand on top of the podium here in Orlando. Danielle Brandon is across. Now here come Alexis Raptis and Emma Lawson. Amanda Barnhart and Paige Powers have their bags held. Raptis and Lawson are across. Barnhart is in and Paige Powers is in. And now we got to see how this affects Annika Greer. Here comes Caroline Stanley and Sydney Wells.
Huge for Stanley right there.
That's going to be 12th place in the event for Stanley. Now Paige Semenza is in, and that leaves Fee Sagafi still on the floor. Now Semenza finished 21st. Sagafi's the last woman out there on the floor. She needed a 23rd place finish or better to clinch.
That was coming in too.
She's got to get across the finish line. Ooh. She is in, and right now that's a 35th place.
We're gonna start with third, second, and first. In third place with 577 points, Amanda Barnhart. In second place with 601 points, Danielle Brandon. Your first place finisher for the North America East NOBULL CrossFit Semifinal is Emma Carey. In fourth, with 575 points, Emma Lawson. In fifth, with 564 points, Alexis Raptis. In sixth, with 557 points, Paige Powers. In seventh, with 409 points, Sydney Wells. In eighth, with 398 points, Fee Sagafi. In ninth, with 397 points, Shelby Neal. In 10th, with 395 points, Caroline Stanley. And now for our final place to Madison, Wisconsin for the 2023 NOBULL CrossFit Games. These athletes were separated by just 3 points. In 11th, with 386 points, Paige Semenza. Semenza, Caroline Stanley, Shelby Neal, Fee Sagafi, Sydney Wells, Paige Powers, Alexis Raptis, Emma Lawson, Amanda Barnhart, Danielle Brandon, and Emma Carey. We'll see you at the games.